Ambassador Thexara clicked her mandibles in what passed for amusement among the Zephyrian delegation as she read from the holographic decree. The crystalline chamber of the Galactic Civilizational Council echoed with similar sounds from the assembled representatives, chirps, hisses, and electronic tones that universally conveyed mockery. Species designation, Homo sapiens. Planet designation, Sol 3, locally called Earth, she announced, her translator rendering her words into the common tongue. Council verdict, Uncivilized. Reasoning, persistent warfare, environmental destruction, social inequality, and primitive information storage methods. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's sole representative, sat motionless at the defendant's podium. Around her, the Council's most advanced species, beings who had mastered faster-than-light travel, quantum consciousness transfer, and galactic governance, waited for her inevitable acceptance of their judgment. The human delegation has 48 standard hours to present counter-evidence, Thexara continued, though precedent suggests this is merely a formality. Sarah stood, her simple gray suit a stark contrast to the elaborate biomechanical forms surrounding her. I accept the challenge. A ripple of what could only be described as cosmic snickering passed through the assembly. The Chronari delegate, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric lattice, pulsed with colors that translated roughly to condescending pity. Primitive paper-based knowledge systems cannot possibly challenge our neural network libraries and quantum-stored wisdom banks. We shall see, Sarah replied quietly. 47 hours later, Sarah returned to the council chamber, but she was not alone. Behind her walked a small procession of humans, each carrying what appeared to be ancient bound collections of processed plant matter. Books. Honored Council, Sarah began. You have judged humanity uncivilized based on our conflicts, our mistakes, and our primitive methods. You see our libraries as quaint relics in an age of instant neural downloads and quantum databases. But I ask you this. What happens when your power fails? When your networks collapse? When your quantum matrices decohere? The Vorthan representative, a creature resembling a living crystal formation, resonated with dismissive harmonics. Impossible. Our systems are beyond such failures. Sarah smiled. So thought the Library of Alexandria. So thought the digital archives of the early 21st century. So thought every civilization that believed their knowledge was eternal. She gestured to her companions. These are our librarians, our keepers of physical knowledge. Let me show you what we've learned from our failures. She opened the first book, a worn copy of Plato's Republic. This book has survived 2,400 years through wars, floods, fires, and the collapse of empires. No power source required, no network connection needed, just human eyes and a functioning brain. The council shifted uncomfortably as Sarah continued. When the Mayan civilization fell, their codices survived in caves. When Rome burned, monks preserved Greek philosophy in scriptoriums. When our digital age nearly collapsed under cyber warfare, it was our printed books and handwritten journals that saved our accumulated knowledge. Dr. Martinez, a historian from Mexico, stepped forward with a leather-bound journal. This contains the oral histories of the Nahuatl people, transcribed by hand over 5 centuries. Every revolution, every conquest, every rebirth, preserved not in quantum matrices that can be corrupted or wiped clean, but in ink and paper and human memory. The energy being pulsed with what might have been uncertainty. But your storage is so inefficient, so limited. Sarah nodded. Yes, that limitation forces us to be selective, to preserve what truly matters, to think deeply about what deserves to survive. When you can store everything, do you truly value anything? She walked toward the center of the chamber, her voice gaining strength. You call us uncivilized because we wage war, but our libraries contain not just the accounts of our conflicts, but the hard-won wisdom of peace. Sun Tzu wrote, "The art of war not to glorify conflict, but to end it quickly." Gandhi wrote about nonviolence after witnessing humanity's capacity, for both cruelty and redemption. Professor Okafor from Nigeria opened a collection of African proverbs. Our ancestors said, "When an old man dies, a library burns to the ground." So we learned to write things down, to share stories, to preserve not just facts, but wisdom, context, emotion, hope. The crystalline Vorthon being's harmonics shifted to confusion. But how do you verify accuracy across such distributed systems? How do you maintain consistency? We don't, Sarah admitted. We argue, we debate, we challenge each other. We allow our knowledge to evolve, to be questioned, to be wrong. She paused, looking around the chamber. When was the last time any of you were wrong about something? When did your quantum matrices last update a fundamental assumption? Silence fell across the council. The question hung in the air like a challenge none of them had considered. Sarah continued. Our primitive libraries are not just storage systems, they're immune systems. Every book represents an argument with history, a dialogue with the past, a question posed to the future. They survive because they're distributed across billions of minds, not centralized in networks that can fail. She held up a simple notebook. This contains the observations of a 12-year-old girl who documented her neighborhood during our last global pandemic. Not significant enough for your vast databases, perhaps, but irreplaceable for understanding how ordinary humans faced extraordinary times. The council's murmurs had shifted from mockery to something approaching respect. Ambassador Thexara's mandibles clicked slowly. You suggest that your inefficiency is actually a strength? I suggest that our redundancy, our stubbornness, our refusal to let go of old books and old ways, that these aren't bugs in our system. They're features. Sarah smiled. We are the species that carves wisdom into stone, prints it on paper, stores it in songs, and passes it through stories precisely because we know that all things fail. All networks crash. All empires fall. She gestured to the assembled humans. But as long as one human remains who can read, who remembers, who carries forward even a fragment of what we've learned, our civilization survives. Can you say the same? The chamber fell silent as the council contemplated this. For the first time in galactic memory, they faced a species that had turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. After long deliberation, the council's verdict was unanimous. Earth would be granted provisional membership, not despite their primitive libraries, but because of them. As the session ended, Thexara approached Sarah privately. Your libraries, she said quietly, could they survive what we could not? Sarah nodded, understanding the unspoken question. They already have, many times over. That night, for the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council began printing books.